I want to talk about something you probably felt today, maybe multiple times. Something that hijacked your thoughts, tightened your chest, made you say things you regret, or left you stewing for hours after the moment passed. Anger. Someone cut you off in traffic. A coworker took credit for your work. Your partner said something dismissive. A stranger was rude. A politician lied. The internet outraged you. A friend betrayed you. Life disappointed you. And you felt it. That heat rising. That voice in your head rehearsing what you should have said. That fantasy of revenge, of justice, of making them understand, making them hurt the way they hurt you. We've all been there. We're all still there, sometimes multiple times a day. But what if I told you that nearly 2,000 years ago, a man who commanded the most powerful armies on earth, who could have anyone killed with a word, who faced betrayal, incompetence, and cruelty constantly, figured out how to master anger so completely that his writings on it are still changing lives today? That man was Marcus Aurelius. And what he wrote about anger, in those private notes to himself, isn't just philosophy. It's a survival manual for staying human in a world designed to make you lose your mind. Tonight, we're going to explore what he actually said. Not what self-help books claim he said. Not simplified quotes on Instagram. But what he really understood about anger, why it happens, what it costs, and how to break free from it. Here's what most people don't realize about Marcus Aurelius. He wasn't naturally calm. He wasn't born serene. He struggled with anger his entire life. We know this because he told us. In his private journal, the Meditations, he writes reminders to himself again and again about controlling his temper, about not lashing out, about staying patient with difficult people. If he'd already mastered anger, he wouldn't need these constant reminders. The repetition reveals the struggle. One of the most telling passages comes early in the Meditations, where Marcus lists the things he learned from various teachers and mentors. And one lesson appears multiple times in different forms. Don't lose your temper. Don't get angry. Stay calm even when provoked. He learned this from his adoptive father, Antoninus Pius. He writes about how Antoninus never showed anger, never raised his voice, never made decisions in the heat of emotion. Marcus saw this and thought, that's who I want to be. But wanting to be calm and actually being calm are very different things. Marcus was emperor of Rome. Think about what that meant on a practical, daily level. He dealt with generals who lost battles through incompetence, advisors who gave bad counsel, senators who schemed against him, governors who stole from provinces, officials who lied to his face. He endured years of war on the northern frontier, watching his soldiers die from plague and barbarian raids, while people back in Rome lived in luxury and complained about taxes. His wife, Faustina, was rumored to be unfaithful. Whether true or not, the gossip was constant. People whispered about him, mocked him, questioned his decisions. And he couldn't just yell at them. He couldn't fire everyone who annoyed him. He couldn't escape to a private island and ignore the world. He had to keep functioning. Keep making wise decisions. Keep treating people justly, even people who didn't deserve it. So he developed a practice. Every night, or maybe every morning, he would write to himself. Reminders, strategies, perspective shifts, all designed to help him stay calm the next time someone triggered his anger. And one of the most powerful things he wrote, a line that gets quoted constantly but rarely understood, is this: how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it? Let that sit for a moment. The thing that made you angry, the insult, the betrayal, the injustice, it hurt. But the anger itself, your reaction to it, hurts you even more. Marcus understood something profound. Anger is a second wound you inflict on yourself. Someone wrongs you. That's the first wound. Then you get angry about it. That's the second wound. And the second one, the one you choose, often causes more damage than the first. Think about the last time you were really angry. How long did it last? Hours? Days? Did you replay the incident over and over? Did you imagine confrontations, rehearse arguments, fantasize about revenge? And where was the person who wronged you during all this? Probably living their life, unaware, unaffected, while you tortured yourself with rage. Marcus saw this pattern in himself and realized, the anger isn't punishing them. It's punishing me. And once you see that, really see it, everything changes. So what is anger, according to Marcus and the Stoic philosophers he studied? It's not just an emotion. It's a judgment, a belief, a story you tell yourself about what happened and what it means. Here's how it works. Something happens. A neutral event in the world. Someone cuts you off in traffic. That's just physics. A car changing lanes. But immediately, instantly, your mind adds interpretation. You think, that person is rude. They disrespected me. They think they're more important than me. They could have caused an accident. They're a terrible driver. They're selfish. Notice what happened. You went from an observable event, a car changing lanes, to a whole narrative about this person's character, intentions, and worth. And it's that narrative, that story, that creates the anger. Because if you genuinely believe the person didn't see you, if you thought maybe they're rushing to the hospital, or they're elderly and struggling to drive, or it was an honest mistake, you wouldn't be angry. You might be cautious, alert, but not enraged. The anger comes from the story. This person wronged me deliberately. Marcus writes, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. This sounds ridiculous at first. If someone insults you, you're harmed, right? But what Marcus is saying is, the insult is just sound waves. Words. It only becomes harmful when you interpret it as harmful. When you give it power. When you believe it matters. Now, this doesn't mean pretending nothing bothers you. It means recognizing that between the event and your anger is a space, a moment, a choice. In that space, you're telling yourself a story about what happened, and you can change the story. The Stoics had a framework for this. They distinguished between things that are up to us and things that are not up to us. Not up to us, what other people do, what they say, how they treat you. External events, other people's opinions. Up to us, how you interpret what happens, how you respond, what you choose to focus on, your judgments, your character. When you get angry, you're trying to control what's not up to you. You're demanding that other people behave differently, that the world conform to your expectations, that reality be other than it is. And that's exhausting. It's futile. It's like being angry at the rain for falling. Marcus writes, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The person who cut you off is outside your control. But your reaction? That's yours. That's your domain. That's where your power actually lives. And anger, fundamentally, is what happens when you forget this. When you try to control the uncontrollable and rage when it doesn't obey. Marcus didn't just philosophize about anger abstractly. He calculated its cost. And he realized the price was enormous. First, there's the immediate physical cost. When you get angry, your body floods with stress hormones. Your heart rate spikes. Your blood pressure rises. Your muscles tense. Your digestion shuts down. This is the fight or flight response. Useful if you're facing a tiger. Destructive if you're facing a rude email. And if you stay angry, if you ruminate for hours or days, you're keeping your body in that state. You're poisoning yourself with your own stress chemistry. Marcus was chronically ill. He probably had stomach ulcers or some digestive disorder. Ancient sources describe him as weak, in pain, constantly taking medicine. And he understood that anger made it worse. That every time he let himself rage internally, he was damaging his own body. He writes, "How ridiculous and how strange to be surprised at anything which happens in life. Why? Because life is chaotic. People are flawed. Things go wrong. If you expect perfection and get angry when reality falls short, you'll be angry constantly. And that constant anger will destroy you faster than any external enemy. Second, there's the relational cost. Anger damages relationships, sometimes irreparably. You say things you don't mean. You attack people who don't deserve it. You create enemies out of allies. You push away people who care about you." Marcus writes, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Someone treats you badly. Your instinct is to hurt them back, to make them feel what you felt, to get even. But when you do that, you become like them. You adopt their cruelty. You lower yourself to their level. And Marcus realized, that's not revenge. That's defeat. They've corrupted you. They've made you into a worse version of yourself. True revenge, true victory, is remaining kind when others are cruel. Remaining just when others are unfair. Remaining calm when others are chaotic. Because then you haven't just refused to sink to their level. You've demonstrated that their behavior has no power over who you are. Third, there's the opportunity cost. Every minute you spend angry is a minute you're not spending on something meaningful. Marcus writes, "Life is short. Don't waste it on anger." He was emperor of Rome, fighting wars, managing an empire, trying to be a good father, a good husband, a good leader. He didn't have time to nurse grudges. And neither do you. Think about how much mental energy you've spent being angry over the years. All those hours of rumination. All those imaginary arguments. All that rehearsing of comebacks and grievances. What if you'd spent that time creating something? Learning something? Connecting with someone you love? Resting? Experiencing joy? Anger steals your life. Not dramatically. Not all at once. But slowly, minute by minute, it drains your attention and energy and directs it toward resentment. And when you're old, when you look back, do you want to remember a life of anger? Or a life of something better? Finally, there's the moral cost. Anger makes you unjust. Marcus was obsessed with justice. It was one of the 4 cardinal virtues in Stoicism: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. And he knew that anger destroys justice. When you're angry, you see the other person as evil. You exaggerate their faults. You minimize their humanity. You judge them without empathy, without context, without fairness. You become the thing you claim to hate, someone who treats others unjustly. Marcus writes, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." This isn't cynicism. It's preparation. He's reminding himself that people are flawed, that they'll disappoint him, that they'll make mistakes. And by expecting this, by preparing for it, he's less likely to be surprised and angry when it happens. He continues, But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own. Even the person who wrongs you is human. Flawed, yes, but not fundamentally different from you. They're struggling. They're ignorant. They're doing their best with the understanding they have. And if you can remember that, if you can see them as a fellow human rather than an enemy, the anger loses its grip. So how did Marcus actually manage his anger? What were the practical techniques he used? He left us a toolkit. Not abstract philosophy, but concrete practices he used daily. Let me walk you through them. Technique 1. Pause before reacting. Marcus writes, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." When something triggers you, your first instinct is to react immediately, to lash out, to defend yourself, to attack. But Marcus trained himself to pause, to create a gap between stimulus and response. In that gap, he would ask, "Is this worth my peace? Is this worth my dignity? Will reacting in anger make anything better?" Usually, the answer was no. The person who insulted you isn't going to suddenly become wise because you yelled at them. The situation isn't going to improve because you lost your temper. You're just adding more chaos to chaos. So pause. Count to 10. Take a breath. Walk away if you need to. Give yourself space before you respond. And often, you'll find that the urge to react with anger fades. The story you were telling yourself about what happened starts to feel less urgent, less absolute. Technique 2. Zoom out. When you're angry, your focus narrows. You fixate on the offense. You loop on the injustice. Your entire world becomes this one moment, this one person, this one problem. Marcus would deliberately zoom out. Expand his perspective. See the situation from a cosmic viewpoint. He writes, "Look at everything that exists, and observe that it is already in dissolution and in change. Think of the infinity of time past and future, in which all things are dissolved. In 100 years, everyone involved in this conflict will be dead. In 1,000 years, no one will remember it happened. In the vast scope of time and space, this moment is infinitesimal. Does that make the offense okay? No. But it makes your anger proportional. It reminds you that this isn't the end of the world. It's one moment in an incomprehensibly large universe. And when you see it that way, the anger feels absurd. You're raging at a speck of dust in an infinite cosmos." Technique 3. Imagine it's the last day. Marcus was obsessed with mortality. He constantly reminded himself that he could die at any moment. And he used this awareness as a tool for managing anger. He would ask himself, "If this were my last day alive, would I want to spend it being angry at this person?" The answer was always no. If you knew you had one day left, you wouldn't waste it on resentment. You'd forgive. You'd let go. You'd focus on what actually matters: love, connection, meaning, beauty. So why wait until the last day? Why not live that way now? This doesn't mean ignoring injustice or tolerating harm. It means refusing to let anger consume your precious, limited time. Technique 4. Consider their perspective. When someone wrongs you, it's easy to assume malice, to think they did it deliberately to hurt you. But Marcus trained himself to consider other explanations. He writes, "When people injure you, ask yourself what good or harm they thought would come from it. If you understand that, you'll feel sympathy rather than outrage. Maybe they're ignorant. Maybe they're in pain. Maybe they're doing their best, and it's just not very good. Maybe they have no idea they've hurt you. This isn't about excusing bad behavior. It's about understanding that people rarely wake up thinking, "How can I make someone else's day worse?" They're usually just pursuing what they think is good, even if they're wrong about what that is. And if you can see that, if you can understand their confusion or their pain, the anger transforms into something softer. Not approval, but compassion. Technique 5. Focus on what you can control. This is the core Stoic principle, and Marcus used it constantly. When someone mistreats you, you can't control their behavior, but you can control your response. You can't control whether they apologize, but you can control whether you forgive. You can't control whether they learn their lesson, but you can control whether you maintain your integrity. Marcus writes, "Confine yourself to the present, not the past, where the offense happened and you can't change it. Not the future, where you're imagining revenge or vindication. But right now, this moment. What can you do right now that's constructive?" Usually, the answer is, let it go and focus on something that actually matters. Technique 6. Practice daily. Marcus didn't wait until he was angry to use these techniques. He practiced them daily, even when calm. Every morning, he would remind himself that he'd encounter difficult people. Every night, he would review his day and ask, "Did I maintain my character? Did I react with wisdom? What can I do better tomorrow?" This is like training a muscle. You don't wait until you're in a fight to learn how to fight. You train beforehand, so when the moment comes, the response is automatic. If you wait until you're angry to try these techniques, they probably won't work. Your emotions are too strong. Your judgment is too clouded. But if you practice them daily, in small moments, they become habit. And when the big moments come, when someone really wrongs you, you'll have the tools ready. So we've talked about what anger is, what it costs, and what Marcus did about it. Now let's make this personal. Let's make it practical. Because the question isn't just, what did Marcus think about anger? The question is, what are you going to do about yours? Here's the truth, you're going to get angry again. Probably tomorrow. Maybe tonight, before you even finish this video. Someone will cut you off. Someone will say something stupid. Something won't go the way you planned. Life will be life. And you'll feel that familiar heat. That tightness. That voice saying, "This is unfair. This is wrong. This person needs to pay." In that moment, you have a choice. The same choice Marcus faced every day. You can follow the anger. Let it take control. Say the harsh words. Make the aggressive gesture. Feed the resentment. And pay the price. Physical stress, damaged relationships, wasted time, compromised character. Or you can pause. Just for a second. Just long enough to remember what Marcus knew. The anger is hurting you more than they are. And in that pause, you can choose differently. Not because you're weak. Not because you're letting them win. But because you understand something they don't. Your peace is more valuable than your pride. Let me be clear about something. This doesn't mean becoming passive. It doesn't mean accepting abuse or letting people walk all over you. Marcus was an emperor. He executed traitors. He fought wars. He enforced laws. He wasn't a doormat. But he did these things from a place of calm judgment, not emotional reactivity. He acted because it was just and necessary, not because he was angry. There's a huge difference between setting boundaries and lashing out. Between standing up for yourself and attacking others. Between defending what's right and indulging your ego. Anger obscures that difference. It makes you think revenge is justice. That cruelty is strength. That your wounded pride is a moral cause. But it's not. It's just your ego, demanding that reality conform to your preferences. And it never will. So what can you actually do? Tonight, before you sleep, try this. Think of someone who made you angry recently. Picture them clearly. Feel the residual resentment. Now ask